how Thrawn joined the Empire. This comic starts with Thrawn peering through some bushes, listening in on two officers talking. He then grabs a pilot out of his crashed ship and pretty much just loots him for his weapons and his comms link, where he then hears that they are sending 2 squads of stormtroopers his way. He waits for one of them to wander off and beats him up and takes his armor to disguise himself. He sneaks onto their ship with them when he is asked to identify himself, and he removes his helmet. Then Captain Park announces himself and asks if he can speak Basic. Cadet Vanto then speaks up and asks if Psi Bisti is better. As they are talking, Thrawn speaks up, stating that he understands Basic but is more comfortable with speaking Psi Bisti. They then ask him his name, and he replies with Midith Raw Nerwodo, and tells them that it would just be easier for them to call him Thrawn. He then tells them that he was exiled because his leaders and him disagreed about preemptive strikes on others. The officers later discuss what they know about his kind, the Chiss. He tells them that most of the stories are more like myths now, and that they're all supposed to be great warriors. Cadet Vanto is then assigned to be Thrawn's translator. He then talks to Thrawn in the cell about a multitude of things, but during all of it he reads into Vanto, telling him that he knows that he doesn't want to be doing this, being a translator and all, and that he really just wants to work the supply line. He then asks Thrawn why he cares so much about him, and he tells them, "You are my translator. You hold my words in your hand and their meanings. They are not connected to my immediate survival. You are." He is then brought to meet Sidious, and he says that he is more than a gift. He is a resource, and he would be wise to use him. He tells him that there are many threats lurking in the unknown that will soon come for him one day, and that he could seek them out and eliminate them himself. And all he wants in return is for his consideration of his people in the future. Sidious asks, "What if I refuse to grant that consideration?" And he says, "I will have gambled and lost." Sidious then asks, "If you serve the Empire, and a threat arose against your people, where would your loyalties lie?" He tells them that his allegiance would be to the Empire, and the only proof he can offer is his word. And then he says, "Perhaps your servant can speak to the strength of that vow." And he is of course talking about Vader or Anakin when he met him during the Clone Wars. He asked if he survived the war, and he is told that he did not. Sidious tells him that he has spoke highly of Thrawn's abilities, and asks him if he wishes to become his advisor on the matters of the unknown. He agrees and asks one favor, to bring his translator with him, and he allows it, but it forces Vanto to stay there longer than he wished, which upsets him. We then see Thrawn sporting a new haircut and uniform. He is also granted the rank of lieutenant. Most of the people in their classes don't like him because of how quickly he has gained that rank. Thrawn and Vanto are invited to play some cards, which was just a trap to get them in trouble, but he is able to flip it back onto them, and later that night the two are walking back to their room when Thrawn randomly pushes Vanto over some bushes, but it was actually to protect him, because some hooded figures were following them. While the three are attacking him, he holds them off pretty well, but Vanto decides to help him by throwing a bunch of rocks at them, distracting them. More students come back to check on what is happening, and the three run. They report the attack to Commandant Dean Lark, and Thrawn requests that instead of punishment, they get transferred to starfighter pilot training. We then cut to 3 months later, where they are getting their final roles. Thrawn gets to be the second weapons officer aboard the Blood Crow, and Vanto is required to still aid Thrawn instead of working the supply line, which enrages him, thinking Thrawn made the call. But he assures him not, and tells him that when he becomes Admiral, he will see to it that he gets the position he wants. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and liking the video, because they are both free and help me out a ton.